After such a long time, our beloved GOAT Oberon has finally gotten the rework that he so much deserved. In today's video, I have two different builds for you guys, a semi-nuking Oberon and also an incredibly good gun platform build. Today, covering the rework, covering the changes, the two builds, an unkillable, unstoppable, almost infinite amounts of energy Warframe, and without any more further delays, I guess you're gonna have to watch the video to find out the rest, so let's quickly hop into it. Oberon hasn't gotten love in such a long time, and Pablo finally decided to give him the love that he deserves. We have changes to pretty much his entire kit, and as I mentioned, two different builds in today's video. So we're not gonna delay it anymore, but we're actually gonna delay just a little bit. We gotta cover the Fashionframe. This is what he looks like. These are the attachments, the colors, everything that I utilize on my beloved Oberon. I do have to say he looks quite smashing, but I cannot wait for his heirloom skin because I think that one is gonna be a banger. What also is gonna be a banger for you guys, clicking that like, subscribe, bell icon. I do have to say thank you so much. 22,000 of you, damn, that's a lot. Hopefully 23 by the end of the year. So now we're not gonna delay it anymore. Let's quickly hop into his passive. First of all, picking up health orbs is gonna give you 3 instances of righteous negation, which basically means you're gonna block any incoming damage. And as long as you pick up health orbs, you're gonna increase these charges and refill them up. You do have a small invincibility phase of 0.25 seconds and a 0.5 on the final charge, which is gonna help you out a lot. This is basically gonna be a free rolling guard for you guys, so that's one mod that you're not gonna have to utilize, but what you're gonna utilize is probably the first ability, which is gonna be Smite. First of all, this ability has changed in a way that now you can fully armor strip and also overguard strip Eximus units alongside enemies, of course, and do a really good amount of damage. It is proportional to their health, so try to utilize it on the toughest target that you can possibly find, and it's gonna do a second instance of radial damage, dealing radiation. And honestly, this is a much better ability now, but we are gonna subsume it with two other Helminth abilities, the first one being for our semi-nuking build, Breach Surge from Wisp. This ability is gonna allow you to nuke enemies and acolytes alike, but we'll cover that in more details when we get to it. The second ability that we're gonna subsume is gonna be Roar. Roar is gonna be amazing for buffing every single one of his other abilities and the damage of your primary and your other weapons as well. But now, let's move on to the second ability, which is going to be Hallowed Ground. Now, Hallowed Ground is now radial. First of all, it's not a cone anymore, and the great thing about this ability, also along the changes, first of all, now it much better interacts with the terrain around you and elevation as well. It used to be an issue, but now it's not. It's not going to disappear when nullifiers run across it, which is very good. It does radiation damage, 2 instances per second, which is very good, and it will also grant you protection against status effects, which is going to be incredibly good. Now, we're going to be moving on to his third ability, which is going to be Renewal. Renewal is going to grant you and your allies a bonus armor, and it's going to restore your health of the first instance when you activate the ability, and also is going to give you health over time, which is going to be incredibly good. Now, the healing is going to be doubled when you're in the radius of Hallowed Ground, which is very nice. Alongside the incredible armor buff that you gain and your allies gaining double that, it's gonna be so good. Keeping in mind there are a little bit of minor changes here as well. Your allies that fall off of the map or for example walk into a nullifier bubble are no longer gonna lose the actual ability, which is gonna be really nice. I do have to say I quite love the changes to Renewal. This used to be one of his best survivability abilities, and now it's just so much better. And now we're gonna move on to his fourth ability, Reckoning. First of all, you no longer have to count on your second ability, Hallowed Ground, to armor strip enemies. You will always armor strip enemies with this ability, which is going to be incredibly good. The damage is basically tripled, and enemies no longer have to be killed with this ability to drop health orbs. Now, when you actually slam them onto the ground, they will be marked, and then once you kill those enemies, by any means necessary, they are gonna drop you health orbs, which in turn are gonna keep up your energy, and you'll see how and why in just a second. The other thing that you want to keep in mind is this ability does require line of sight, and I have noticed sometimes it can be very iffy at best, but we'll cover that in the final segment of the video, which I do recommend you stick around because I do have interesting notes for you guys and DE as well to talk about. The other cool ability that I do want to say is the damage does scale off of the radiation stacks on enemies, and you also gain armor per enemy hit, which will also help you out tremendously with your survivability. Now, what's gonna help you out even more is, of course, the first build, the NUKING build that I have in store for you guys. And the first build is gonna be our semi-nuking breach surge build. Now, why do I call this a semi-nuking? Well, because you're not the only one doing the nuking around here, but you're gonna have to continue on watching until the very end. But let's cover the build up on screen right now. In the aura slot, we have growing power alongside cunning drift, we have blind rage, prime continuity, equilibrium, stretch, Archon Intensify, Transient Fortitude, Hallowed Reckoning, which we will cover in just a second, and we also have Energy Conversion. We have Arcane Battery and Molt Augmented. Now, Arcane Battery is going to be so good here because of the incredible amounts of armor that you gain with your fourth, your third as well. Now, with this, you're pretty much going to have thousands of energy, and you're going to have those thousands pretty much filled up all of the time. Now, let's cover Hallowed Reckoning. Hallowed Reckoning is an augment for your Reckoning ability where it gains 40% range, which is very nice, and a 3-meter radius around each enemy is affected and grants bonus armor to you and your allies, and dealing extra 300 damage per second to enemies. This is going to give you additional damage and even more armor, and the most important thing is even more range on your Reckoning, meaning you're going to armor strip even more enemies. Now, Energy Conversion is a very good mod because energy orbs will grant you 50% more ability strength on your next ability cast, which is very nice. Now, I do want to mention Atomic Fallout. This is a pretty decent arcane and you can utilize it, but with Equilibrium, with the companion of choice as well, you are going to be gaining loads, and I do mean loads, of health and in turn energy orbs. So energy is not really an issue, but if you do want to, you can switch out Arcane Battery for Arcane Universal Fallout if you really wanted to. Now, let's cover the second build, and honestly, this is my primary build for my Oberon, and this is going to be the Roar build. Pretty much the build stays the same. Nothing really changes here because this build works perfectly fine for both. Now, I did cover both of these builds, but I will give you a third bonus one just in case you don't really want to subsume anything onto your Oberon, and this is the build up on screen. Instead of Energy Conversion, we're going to add just a tad bit more range with Augur Reach, and this is going to be very good because of your fourth ability alongside Smite, which is your first ability, which we didn't subsume as I said, and Hallowed Ground as well. So if you're someone who doesn't really want to mess around with the helmet system, this is the build that I recommend you use. Also, Cunning Drift, you can change it out for Power Drift as well, considering we have Augur Reach here in the build. But now, let's cover the Aschon Shard of choice. And here we have two Taufor's orange ones, which are gonna give us a maximum of 30% ability damage on enemies affected by radiation, and pretty much all of them are gonna be affected. We have one Taufor's yellow one, giving us additional casting speed, and we have a Taufor's the red one, which is gonna give us 15% ability strength alongside a ordinary red Aschon Shard, which is gonna give you 10% ability strength. And this is gonna help you out a lot with your damage output throughout the gameplay. Either build that you use, this is going to be incredibly good. And of course, as always, we gotta cover the focus school of choice. We have Mother Rai, when here we have power transfer, which basically switching from your operator to your Warframe is going to give you 50% additional casting speed, and sling strength, slinging a couple of times, you switching to your Warframe is going to give you 40% ability strength. Both of these are going to be incredibly useful, but if you can't be bothered to use them, you can always just pretty much ignore this. Now, the weapons of choice. My honest and favorite weapon with this Warframe is the Strun Incarnate. You can see the build alongside the evolutions up on screen, and I do have to say I love this weapon. I've tried utilizing other weapons. I've actually utilized the Kuva Brahma as well with both of these builds. I will leave the build up on screen right now. And honestly, both of these weapons I love, and I do mean love using with Oberon. And here is where I want you guys to come in and put in the comment section down below on what weapons would you recommend to utilize with this Warframe, because I'm quite interested. Now, if you don't have either one of those two weapons, I recommend you get yourself any sort of AoE weapon, because those are going to work best with this Warframe in my honest opinion. Now, what's also going to work out with this Warframe incredibly good is the companion of choice, and this is where the second nuking part comes in. Utilizing either or build, utilizing your Prime Hound is going to be incredibly good. Now, this is the build up on screen alongside the Akaten, which is the weapon of choice. One of the most important things here in the build that I do want to mention is going to be, first of all, Synth Deconstruct to give you additional chances of gaining health orbs from enemies, and in turn energy orbs with equilibrium in your build. And then Synergized Prospectus. This is going to fire off a spark that's going to seek out enemies, bounce around, dealing electricity damage, and this is going to allow you to proc all of those status elements on your Akaten and allowing you to basically nuke enemies, as you may be seeing in the gameplay in the background. And also I do want to mention the other three mods here: Contagion Bond, Manifold Bond, and Mystic Bond. Contagion Bond alongside Manifold Bond, you're gonna apply status effects and they're gonna spread them even further beyond to even more enemies. And then Mystic Bond, after your companion uses abilities with cooldowns 5 times, your Warframe can cast an ability without using any energies, which is going to be very good considering you're going to be utilizing your abilities quite a lot. And now, let's cover how you're actually supposed to play this Warframe. Honestly, it's pretty much plain and simple. First of all, gain a little bit of energy, either utilizing your 4th ability, killing a couple enemies, and then activate your 3rd ability. Keep it active pretty much all of the time. Summon your Hallowed Ground, use Smite or Breach Surge, or even utilize Roar. It really depends on which one you're using, and then just keep it active and keep it going. Utilize your weapon to its utmost fullest, and your companion is pretty much going to be nuking on the side alongside you with the Breach Surge build if you're going to use that, and you're pretty much going to be destroying enemies with your weapons if you're utilizing the Roar build, or I guess the gun buffing build. If you're utilizing Smite, well then just smite as many enemies as you possibly can. Try to aim for those Eximus units for the maximum damage output, and then again utilize your weapon. Your companion, as I said, is going to be nuking on the side, and that's pretty much it. Rinse and repeat. Keep your abilities going, and Oberon is pretty much gonna do the rest. With these changes, his health, his armor, everything is gonna keep you alive. The amount of health orbs that you're gonna gain, the amount of energy that you're gonna have is gonna allow you to pretty much survive Steel Path without any issues. A couple of things that I do want to mention before I end the video. I do have to say I am very satisfied with the changes to Oberon. Now, What do I think could have been added a little bit more? I think that I've noticed the most here that radiation definitely needs a couple of changes. Now, I'm not saying every single Warframe in the game should be able to nuke, but Oberon feels just that tad bit lackluster considering he seems like he could do so much more. I have been testing him out for the past couple of hours and I will continue to still test him out just to see what I can actually make him do. But as a gun platform and as a nuking Warframe, he is really good. Keeping in mind, acolytes might get you in trouble sometimes, especially when they disable your abilities, or even the acolyte, I always forget his name, that when you utilize your weapon, just basically drags in the bullets and kills you instantly. So there can be a little bit of issues sometimes, but nonetheless, the changes to Oberon are incredibly good. I'm very interested in hearing on what you guys think, and you can put it in the comment section down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, a comment as I said, and subscribe for more content. A lot of new videos coming up quite soon, and I can't wait until I make more of them. This has been your lovely host, the Gaming Weasel, over and out.